Hi, I am here with Brian Maiolo, founder of Hard Nut Advertising. Brian is a recent graduate of the Resilient Transformation Academy, and I'm really happy that you're here, Brian, to share your experience in going through the academy.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, I would like to start off by just asking some of the challenges that you were facing before you came into the academy.
Sure. Um, I was definitely reaching a point of burnout, and um, it was definitely a lot of stress. And unfortunately, the things that I had been doing in the preceding years, I wasn't able to lean on. So I would use exercise, so running and doing triathlons and that kind of stuff as a way to handle stress. And I had had some injuries that made that impossible. And so those two things came together and made for a pretty challenging time. Um, so yeah.
So, burnout, stress, not being able to exercise. How was your sleep? Were you ever having trouble sleeping?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's that 3 o'clock thing that you know I've heard in the academy and the program other people talk about. Yes, yeah, sleep was an adventure at times.
So you had some motivation to do this program, and I'd like to ask you what was different about this program than anything you have ever tried before?
Um, so there were a few things. The one thing I noticed, like right off of the bat, that that you made a point of getting leverage on. I mean, I'll talk about my own experience. So, making sure that this wasn't just like getting more information, that it was all about like change. Like it was about, like uh, getting the, it wasn't just about giving information. It was about like looking to for more permanent changes. We've all been to like workshops where you learn something and it's like, oh wow, this is great. And then, a few weeks later or month or whatever, you're just not you kind of go back to things. And um instead this is it's so also comparing it to what I had been doing, which was a lot of it was about exercise. That was like one tool. Now I really have like a toolbox, which is a fundamental shift, which is great because it's both like preventative things, so kind of lowering my overall stress, and then also certain situations that kind of creep creep up on an ongoing basis. I'm I have strategies to deal with those. So when those triggers happen, I'm not just like reacting. I'm already aware of what's going on, the dynamic at play, and so I'm dealing with them in much better ways.
I remember a time that you had shared inside the academy that you were really dealing with some family challenges and having to navigate those family challenges and be a caretaker for somebody in your family with two young kids, a wife, and the executive of an ad agency. And you were just in the past that you would have just struggled to keep up. Can you talk a little bit about that and how these tools helped you navigate that challenging time in your life?
Yeah, I mean, look, they kept me going because those were very challenging times. Things that um, kind of like milestone things that we all kind of deal with as we get older, with aging parents and that kind of thing. And while you're running business, and I happen to have younger kids, and so um, look, without getting to like, there's a variety of tools that are involved, and um, the impact. What it is like there's a cumulative effect of uh, of leveraging these particular tools that um, it's a little bit tough to describe because it almost seems unreal. Like um, things happen that you're more able to tap into like your intuition and things that you typically hear about that maybe when you're talking about like Eastern approaches and that kind of thing. And so just frankly, I was really happy with a lot of the results, but I was also surprised um, at the some of the impact that the program has had on me.
Can you talk a little bit about the productivity increases that you experienced during this program, putting these tools into place? Like what percent
Sure.
increase in productivity do you think you have had?
Well, look, I have had a long journey down the productivity path, uh, and uh, and have learned a lot of strategies to be more productive. We've all heard of like the Pomodoro method and um, planning your week and all that kind of thing. Um, there's a I don't want to go too deep into it, just in terms of what you know what is part of the program, but there's one particular tool that has had a really crazy impact on my productivity, where it's kind of like uh, not just like a little more productive, but like a 10x kind of thing, where um, things that things that would normally take like hours and hours really were I was able to shrink those down into like really crazy short amounts of time. And so that's something that I use it all the time. And it's a great it's a great way to be uber productive. And it's like I've worked with around other people, and you see people drinking like energy drinks and stuff like that. It ain't that. It's not that. It's it's some pretty interesting things.
On average, what percent do you think your productivity has gone up since implementing these tools?
10x,
Wow.
something like that.
10x increase in productivity. That's huge. I remember we have a productivity tracker sheet, and you went through an exercise and you looked at it and said, "Oh my gosh, my productivity went up 1,500% on this one project that you were doing." That was quite astounding.
Well, that's true. That's true. Like there were right, because look, there are certain situations where you're just at it and at it and at it, and you're just grinding. And so that particular situation was really like just a completely different way um, to address the situation. So yeah, that's there have been pretty profound shifts.
Thank you for sharing that. And can you share with the audience too, how has this program changed your leadership style?
That that is a good question. It's changed it in a lot of, I think, in a few different ways. I've always been working on myself and sharing those tools with other people, and so there have been many of the strategies that I've learned that have been instrumental in dealing with some challenging people that I've worked with, and so keeping keeping a level head when that is not an easy thing to do. I think that has been something that I've been really happy with, just in terms of being a leader and being a better version of myself. Um, and then just knowing that other people are going through challenging situations, and giving them tools to help them manage how they're dealing with this thing we call life, and the challenges that come from you know working in very high stress environments. uh, so it's been both for me, and then as an external as a leader to help other people, I think it's been it's had a little bit of a viral effect in terms of uh, you know not this program hasn't just helped me. I think it's helped people around me.
You know, the viral effect, you're a father of two young kids and a wife. Have they noticed what's been shifting inside of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think the being more present. I think more being more present has been um, has been one of the bigger shifts that the bigger results that I've gotten out of this. Um, and I hear that it's not my own impression of things. So that's been a very nice result.
Yeah, especially with the family. When you're with family, I've heard so many people talk about, well, I'm with my family physically, but I'm someplace else in my mind mentally. I'm not really there. And
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of executives say that and say, I want to be present with my family, but I've just got so many other things going on. So there's some techniques that you learn too to really shift your internal focus. And that is what's, getting that shift in the internal focus. Can you talk a little bit more about that in your presence, not just at home, but at work as well?
yeah. I'm, you know, I here's the way I would. There are you've talked about many times about a lot of the behavior that we have, a lot of the situations that are happen over and over again. Um, 90% of the of what we experience is kind of similar, pretty similar to what happened the day before. And so having tools so that when those particular situations come up, we're not making the same bad decisions over and over again. Uh, that is a uh, you know, look, I can't say, hey, hold on a second. I'm going to go run in Central Park. I'm going to do a loop. I'll be back in an hour. So being able to have a tool that you can reach out and that you can just like tap into, pull it out of your quiver and and deal with the situation and being aware of that situation before the situation even happens, uh, that's really a pretty big shift. That's a um, I look, there's a bunch of tools and you put them all together, and I think it's a, uh, it's not one thing. You put them all together though, and it's and it has a profound shift. And it's more of like you're learning, um, you're kind of rewiring how you do things. You're changing there are certain rituals that we learn in the program, and then things that come that will leverage in a at unique in particular situations. So having those new kind of rituals that we things that we do, that you can do all the time to kind of lower your overall stress, and so you get those good night's sleep, and so you're just less, whatever, frustrated, angry, whatever your particular challenge is, or a combination of things. Um, it covers both of those situations, and it's a whole group. It's not like you're just going into some platform. It's having those one-on-one sessions. It's having the weekly sessions with the group. It's having the accountability partners. It's those, crazy challenges that you do, throughout the academy. Um, it's a holistic thing that will. Um, I think they say like 90% of people never get through a program, whether it's a book or platform. Used to be DVDs and cassettes, but um, this is, I think you make it pretty hard not to succeed, not to really be changed by the program, as opposed to just like any short-term gains.
Wow. Sounds like you really made some incredible transformation. And there's probably a lot of people here that picked up on, wait a minute, he had trouble sleeping and now he's not having trouble sleeping. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, I'm an overthinker. there's a lot going on in here. There's a lot going on with a lot of people, um, and um, and it's it's just changed a lot. It's changed a lot. And if you don't get good sleep, that is that has major implications in terms of your mood, physically, how you feel every day, what you bring to the party when you're, uh, when you're interacting with people, how you show up. Um, and so it's been that one thing alone, um, that alone has made a big difference.
Do you find that when you practice the specific techniques when you go to bed, that it's helping to self-regulate the nervous system and that's what's helping you have a good night's sleep?
Yeah, I mean, you talk a lot about the connection between the head and the heart, and um, I think most people at the end of the day will just be like, "Oh, it works." Like you can be interested in those things, and then you can also, you know, but it's the results that are really kind of the proof of the pudding, and so, and it's like it's very logical. I mean, there's an Eastern approach here. But it's also things that are extremely um, easy to wrap your head around. And it's, science is proving these things out. These are, it's a very science based approach. So it's, and then you get to sleep. So
All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much for sharing your transformation in the Resilient Transformation Academy. It's been wonderful working with you. And thank you for sharing this with other people. I'm sure they're going to be inspired by it.
thank you. Look, thank you for teaching me all of, you know, how to do this. So appreciate it.
My pleasure.